Hi, Tom Trento here on Friday, October 3rd, 2014. Oh, the sweet sound of the shofar. That is the sound, ladies and gentlemen, that our Jewish brothers and sisters are going to be welcoming at the end of Yom Kippur. And for because our show goes around the world, we have people in Israel watching, people in, 50 countries, something like that, watching and listening. We don't know where the Jewish folks are in the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur, but here in the United States, starts at sundown this evening. And we just wanted to mention at the outset that we wish our best as the Jewish community worldwide comes to the Yom, the Day Kippur of Atonement. And this is a unique day for Jewish folks. It's the day where they make, I'll show you, something I learned years ago in theology school. Atonement. How do you spell atonement? A-T. Okay. O.
N. Is there an E?
E. He doesn't. M-E-N-T. Atonement. Is that it? Like there? Can you see that?
At one mint. At one mint.
Here, watch this. Atonement means to obviously atone, to make yourself right with God. But if you break the word down, at one mint, at one with. You want to become one with God.
Right.
And the concept is very simple. Sin separates you from God. A little sermon. I'll preach a little sermon for our Jewish brothers
Preach it,
and sisters.
Father Tom.
Hey, we go. Sin, in the Jewish context, separates you from God when you do something He doesn't want you to do, or you don't do something He does want you to do. There's an alienation, just like a human relationship. And in the Jewish world, this day, the Day of Atonement, starting this evening at sundown, going to tomorrow at sundown, where Jews are supposed to fast, Damon, fast all day long.
It's not going to happen.
And then break the fast, and then you hear the shofar, the pretty sound of the horn blowing. This day, Jews are to account before God of the sins of the past year and come clean. Tell God, when I was in that dark place and I didn't think you saw what I was doing, I know you saw me, and I just want to confess in the New Testament, not a book Jews are familiar with, the word homolegeo means to speak the same. It means confession. It's a time to confess. And this is a very, very important day. And Jewish folks are supposed to make peace with their friends before they come to this day, then make peace with God. Then their name is sealed for another year in the book, in God's book.
So they're given a clean slate, and everything's forgiven.
And
so they can make all the same mistakes again next year.
We wish our Jewish friends a wonderful time of spiritual cleansing and atonement at one with God.
Okay.
And we want you to make sure that you go to Breitbart TV and see the piece we did yesterday with Robert Spencer and the beheading issue in Oklahoma. Phenomenal piece that's on Breitbart TV. And now we're going to go into our next segment on today's show. And today, ladies and gentlemen, October 3rd, 2014 here in sunny South Florida. We're going up north to talk to a woman who has put together an absolutely amazing and critically important polling data on national security issues that shocked those of us who work in this sector. And I'd like everyone to meet Kellyanne Conway. Kellyanne, are you with us?
I sure am, and happy to be here. Thank you.
Great. I watched your presentation on Frank Gaffney's National Security Summit earlier in the week, and I was taken back by the findings that you developed. But before we get into those, and we're only going to skim the surface because you have 40 or 50 pages of material, You have an outstanding academic background. You did your work in the area of law. You became a lawyer. You practiced law. Why the heck did you leave the legal field to go do boring polling? What's that all about?
Okay. Well, actually, I re-entered polling from the legal field. I worked for Dick Wirthlin. He was Ronald Reagan's pollster at a very young age. 27 years ago, I started with him. And I really credit Dr. Wirthlin, God rest his soul, for teaching me the craft. I learned my skill at the knees of the master. And then I went to law school, which is 3 years, of course, clerked for a judge, started working at a law firm, and then left to go work with Frank Luntz on the contract with America and some other issues. And 19 plus years ago, went out on my own. I don't find polling to be boring at all. I thought the law was a thankless pursuit, but polling is really the last touchstone. Market research is really the last touchstone we have to the American mind, to American opinion, impression, frustration, misunderstanding, expectation, recommendation. And it's a real gift to me anyway, to be able to travel across this country and then over the phone through polling, listen to the concerns of men and women across this country who are much more sophisticated and much more savvy about public policy issues, and I think many of their elected officials credit them.
Yeah, and in fact, there's nothing boring about this particular poll on these national security issues. What's the genesis? What caused you to put these questions together, then go into this information?
Sure. Well, this survey was conducted on behalf of Center for Security Policy and Frank Gaffney, and along with Breitbart, they hosted a tremendous conference this past week in Washington, D.C., where we were able to release the poll for the first time. I will tell you, I think had we conducted this poll 4, 5, 6 months ago, we would not have had as strong of a result for a very simple reason. Americans realized, beginning with the children at the border crisis from this past summer, that we're lacking leadership on these issues of security, and that our borders are not secure, but our lives are not secure. So many of these politicians focus on prosperity, but as this poll evidences, you can only talk about prosperity if you actually first secure your survival and in fact, engage in security issues. And so from border security to national security, public opinion has really crystallized and galvanized over the last couple of months. Americans think the world is on fire. A couple of beheadings on national news of Western citizens will actually bring into sharp relief American public opinion. It's also very clear in this poll that security mom has returned, if in fact she ever receded. She is incredibly focused on safety and protection. Everyone in this survey said that the vast majority of people in the survey said that they feel less safe than they did a year ago, and that we as a nation are more vulnerable than we were a year ago. They think that we should defeat ISIS immediately and unapologetically, and that we should not really try tougher economic sanctions, not soldiers on the ground in places like Russia and China and even Syria.
Yeah, again, these findings are amazing. Now, our theme for today's show is security, both national and eternal. It is Yom Kippur, and we had a segment earlier on that element. But in the real world, and we've found, we can substantiate your findings. The United West is a counterterrorism educational organization. And many of us, I'm one of the authors, privileged to be with Frank and Team B2, Sharia, the Threat to America. 2 years ago, we're the extremists on the right wing, the conservatives, saying this apocalyptic stuff about Islamic caliphates, and now every day on the news, the stuff that seemed apocalyptic a year ago is indeed reported by the mainstream media. Now, you've generally gone over some of your findings, but a couple of specific questions. You have a slide in here, and we're going to put it up, where you say President Obama is in pretty bad shape on national security and foreign policy. Help us understand what that means.
Sure. The president has a majority disapproval rating on the matters of how he's handling national security and foreign policy. Those numbers are even a little bit higher when you talk about border security. And they pretty much mirror, they're a little bit higher, but they pretty much mirror the president's poor approval ratings on basically every issue that is tested. And I think too much has been given over to the fact that he's had such a strong foreign policy record. He killed Osama bin Laden with really our Navy Team 6 did, but SEAL Team 6 did. But the fact is that people don't feel more secure, and they're giving him low marks. And in part, that's because they pay attention. When he came out in Martha's Vineyard and made comments on the gruesome, horrible death of innocent James Foley by way of beheading through ISIS, through these Islamist extremists, 7 minutes later, the president was on the golf course. And even liberal commentators like Piers Morgan have taken him to task on that just this week. They also know a couple weeks later, the president went out and said, quote, "We don't have a strategy yet to deal with ISIS." So if you and I heard that, you can be darn sure ISIS heard that. The cumulative effect of all of this is that the president's approval rating, or really his disapproval rating on these issues, is high. Now, he is the commander-in-chief. All of these, the responsibility begins and ends with him. However, there's another spectrum of responsible actors that Americans feel should step up and provide leadership as well. We asked the question in our polling, which party do you trust more on national security and foreign policy? The Republicans have a 9-point advantage over Democrats, 41% to 32%. But you have the balance of people saying, "I don't know, I'm not sure," or volunteering that they trust neither party on national security or foreign policy. So I wouldn't necessarily be doing the jig if I were the Republican Party. I would recognize that I have a slight advantage over the Democrats, but I'm nowhere near a majority advantage. The time is now for people to feel that the leadership in Washington that seems to not be able to get much done and seems to spend money on things that Americans think are not important, at least not at that price tag. National security is the opposite, Tom. That's actually the issue that people are saying in this poll. We need to spend more money on it. The majority of people surveyed said that we should continue to fight terrorism. 85% said that, including 75% of liberals, that we should continue the fight against terrorism abroad, leave it there, not here, leave it on that soil, not on this soil, and defeat the terrorists. And number two, a majority separately said that we should increase resources to our military. And so that goes against the grain of cut it when so many people think about federal spending. And I think the evidence is very clear that they want all types of leadership coming out of Washington, D.C., and currently they're failing to see that.
All right. Well, let me ask you this, and this goes to your subjective skills, not your scientific, forensic, analytical skills to gather data. But you've taken a snapshot, and you conducted this poll, 1,000 people, was it? When was it conducted?
Registered voters nationwide, that's right. All of the categories are proportionally representative by race, by gender, by age category, geographic location, and even political party identification.
And when was it done?
The survey was completed September 23rd through 26th. That's 4 nights in the field. And the reason we let our surveys breathe is so that we're not excluding or underrepresenting, two different things going on in polling, underrepresenting voters who are more difficult to reach, Tom, like people of color, folks who live in urban areas, cell phone only users. So we let our surveys breathe in the field. I don't trust these overnight polls. I think they're designed to create public opinion and drive it rather than to reflect it. So it's a 4-night survey. And before that, earlier in the week, we had conducted focus groups, which are not scientific, but they are incredibly illustrative and telling. Focus groups among voters, likely voters in Ohio and in Florida, asking pretty much the same questions. But in the focus group, you can engage people in deeper conversation. In a poll, you're asking them approve, disapprove, agree, disagree, and to comment a little bit.
Kelly, this is Mark. Real quick, you work for Frank Luntz, so your polling accuracy is like the Frank Luntz companies, the same type of methodology. And can you go a little in depth?
No. I don't know why you would presume that when I've been doing my own work for 20 years.
No.
I don't know if you meant that seriously or sarcastically.
No, methodology, the same type of methodology where we're doing. I'm trying to see the accuracy of your polls as compared to someone we know, like Frank Luntz. Is that a?
And how is it other people's polls are accurate? I was the only Republican
I'm
pollster
just
to
assuming.
think that. I was the only. Frank's a great pollster, but I maybe I don't understand the question. I can answer it for Kellyanne. We've been in the business for we're in our 20th year out on our own. I assume if we weren't good, this free market would have squeezed us out a while ago. Okay. You'll note that on Fox News, which of course where people predicted Mitt Romney would get 642 of the electoral votes, even though there were less than that. Excuse me, I'll answer your question. People who predicted a sweeping Romney victory, like Dick Morris, Scott Rasmussen, are no longer around. We predicted Mitt Romney, in fact, would lose, that Barack Obama would get reelected, not because we wanted him to, but because this is the one thing I know greatly about. So in 2012, we also had two of the top three DCCC congressional races, DCCC targets, the Democratic Congressional Committee targets, Michelle Bachmann and Steve King. Our numbers were dead on. They both survived incredibly tough challenges. Steve King's was against Christy Vilsack, the former First Lady of Iowa, whose husband sits in the Obama cabinet as a secretary. So she had all the King's horses, all the King's men. We beat her by 8 points. And also, we're known as sort of the non-rosy, non-happy talk pollster. We don't have conclusions in search of evidence. I've been saying for months now that this Republican wave doesn't exist because in our data anyway, we see some hesitation in terms of supporting either party, and there's a big anti-incumbent sentiment out there that will materialize and does slightly hurt some of the incumbents, not all, certainly not even nearly most, of the incumbents who have an R after the name and are sitting in the House of Representatives.
I guess she told you, Mark, huh?
Yeah, I guess shut me down really quick there.
No, you had a
Well, I'm happy to talk about methodology. I just wish the media talked about it more often when it counts. I mean, how some of these pollsters survived 2012, I'll never know, because they had their data out there. Big Romney victory. Romney's pollster. We're going to win 8 of the 9 swing states. He won 1, North Carolina narrowly. And yet, they're very large firms because people don't really ask them the right questions.
Well, the question that I had goes into that analysis you just laid out. You took a snapshot at the end of September of a group of 1,000 people reflective of the feeling of the United States of America. The peculiar nature of human beings, where national security and these issues were very low, now they're high because of the extreme activity taking place in the media. Do you think in 32 days, when the midterm election actually comes November 4, that, and this is, bring out your prophetic hat, not your analytical hat, do you think these folks are going to resort back to which guy is going to give me more stuff personally than which guy is going to provide more security generally? What do you think?
Well, the question presumes that voters only think about one thing. That only one single issue thinkers, single issue voters when they go into the ballot box. There's no question that certain things dominate their thinking, but that's where people really, I think, misjudge how nimble, but also how crowded the average voter's mind is with so many different issues, individuals, images, and ideas in their heads at any one time. It'd be hard to think that folks who are focused on national security now as a number 3, number 4 issue, demanding leadership from Washington, will somehow recede. It may not be at the fever pitch it is right now in terms of border security, ISIS beheadings, and whatnot. But it's certainly, I think anybody who dismisses it as an unimportant concern and does not address it out on the stump, if people are going to run the jobs and security Romney campaign, they're going to get the jobs and security Romney result this year. Right. And so jobs and the economy is baked in the cake. Everybody, all these candidates in the Senate, guys, are running on jobs and the economy, running against Obamacare and Obama, and they're all stuck at 43 and 44%. So if they want to win, first of all, showing leadership and being for peace through strength is the right thing to do. Secondly, though, it is politically the best thing to do, because if you need the extra 3, 4, 5, 6 points of juice to get you over 50% and to keep you there, then you've got to start talking about issues that aren't already baked in the voter cake. Those are jobs in the economy, Obamacare. You've got to start talking about border security, national security, Islamic extremism, and let's not leave it to most people to figure out on their own. They're very busy. They're very busy people. These are complex issues. I think experts in the field have a duty, really, to give people the facts and figures. They intuitively understand the threats, but the information is a real elixir for them. And I would say those who put it out, I think those who put out that type of information very cogently and very accessibly really will win the day.
All right, we know you have to leave, but before you go, your first point there in your final thought was that if someone is running for office right now with 32 days left, they have to lead. Help our viewers, our listeners here on WSBR 740 AM in South Florida and on iHeartRadio worldwide. Part of this will be on Breitbart TV, part of it on the United West. Help our viewers and our listeners understand what you mean by these politicians, these guys who want to get elected, have to actually lead?
They have to show leadership. They have to give voice and visibility to the same concerns that people tell pollsters like me are concerning them and worrying them. And so if you think about Peace Through Strength, we tested the viability and popularity of Peace Through Strength through a number of different questions. And it turns out Peace Through Strength is not a political slogan. It is a popular solution. Folks believe that in the East data, and everybody's welcome to go to my website, www.pollingcompany.com, to look at the full results. Everything is there, no question redacted. Go and ask other pollsters if they do that. No questions redacted, 44-slide presentation. And you will see in there that folks don't believe. They don't believe this notion that if we just leave other people alone, then they'll start to leave us alone. They do not believe that. They believe if we disengagement is dangerous, and that if we pull out of the Mideast, then Israel is further imperiled, U.S. interests are further imperiled, and the violence will increase in that region. They're very aware of a nuclear-capable Iran and what that may mean, a nuclear-capable North Korea and what that may mean. I'm telling these politicians who are already incumbents and those who are running for office to win a seat for the first time, you have to trust the American mind. They are more intuitive and more onto this than you realize. Stop insulting them by thinking all they care about is reality TV and what's for dinner. They care very much about their survival, and the idea that there could be another 9/11 if we're not vigilant, if we're not careful, if we don't show leadership, if we don't make this a priority, then we can all pay the price. I'll leave you with this too. It's a very simple solution that people in this American men and women in this poll are requesting from their leadership. They believe that we should show peace through strength and that we should protect U.S. citizens, U.S. allies, and U.S. interests, and indeed the U.S. herself. Thank you.
All right. Hey, Kellyanne, absolutely amazing data you've compiled, not only for these guys looking to run for office and get elected and lead that way, but for people in all areas of activism who need to take this information, study your material, look at the findings, put it into presentations, articles, speeches, workshops, get this material out. It was shocking to us that America has changed so dramatically in such a short amount of time. But it's good news. It's finally a little bit of good news. Thank you for doing what you did. Kellyanne Conway, thank you very, very much.
And I find polling fascinating too, Kellyanne.
Yes, we all do.
Thank you.
All right, you take care now. Bye-bye. Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Trento here, WSBR 740 AM on the AM dial in South Florida on this beautiful October 3rd, 2014. That was Kellyanne Conway, who runs thepollingcompany.com. And man, she's a fireball. I've known about Kellyanne for many, many, many years, and have been in different meetings with her, all of that. And her mind is like a steel trap with all this information, all this data, and can analyze it and integrate it and then draw conclusions. A lot of people just do the survey and say, okay, here's all the facts, 42 people, 27 people. But she draws conclusions and then tells people, here's what you have to do. You want to do, you want to win, you want to that, you got to do this, that, and the other thing. Whew, that was pretty good.
Yeah, and I feel like the national security issue was more of an issue in the last election too than the people were leading it on to be. But I'm glad to see some hard data to show that what we've been talking about over the last few years is right on topic, because that's the sense we've been getting from the people who we've been talking to, Tom.
Yeah, but I think if this was in people's minds in 2012 as much as it is today, then the results would have been a little bit different. I think a lot has changed in that almost 2 years.
You're talking about the whole Romney,
I'm talking about the presidential election of 2012. I think that if we did have the fever pitch of people having interest in national security that exists today, I don't think that existed 2 years ago.
Let me. I will sketch out very quickly the milieu.
Okay.
You know that word, milieu.
I know it, but I can't spell it.
September, what are we in? October, November 2012. If you remember, the beginning of 2011 was what took place? The wonderful, welcomed, herald, what kind of spring?
Oh, the
Arab Spring.
The Arab Spring,
winter,
beginning of
the Arab
2011.
winter, right.
what a friggin' disaster that was. That's an Arab nightmare. And what we have, folks, we don't have the resurgence of some sort of democratic entity or desire in these Islamic countries. We have just the opposite, just the opposite. We have a returning to a basic medieval 7th, 8th, 9th century tribalism where
Exactly.
warlords ruled the day.
Exactly.
ISIS is Al-Qaeda as warlords, and they're trying to take over land and hold the land as warlords.
They're doing their best Muhammad imitation.
That's what they're doing, and that's what they want to do. So in the beginning of 2011, we saw Tunisia. Then we saw the Egyptian issues. Then Libya, and then Gaddafi and Mubarak. And everybody's going, what the heck's going on? And rioting all over the place. We come into 2012. No, when was Benghazi? It was 2012, September 11, 2012. 2011, August, we had extortion 17, August 6, 2011. September 11th, 2012, Benghazi. And then just a month or two later, 6 weeks later, was the election. So there was not beheadings. There was this group of people, and no one really knew who the Benghazi bad guys were. So the world was totally different from a national security perspective 2 years ago than it is today. How the heck did it get to this point?
Well, and also throw in
Head
the
choppings.
throw in the border with Mexico, just people just streaming across. That wasn't happening in large drove volumes like it was in 2012 either.
So we have the border issue in Mexico. You know what else happened in the beginning of 2012? And again, folks, these very dramatic developments that we've seen lately with ISIL, ISIS, IS,
Right.
and next Tuesday, today's Friday, October 3rd, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. What's the date on that? It was like 7th. 7th, October 7th. Don't miss our show. We have the absolute wonderful Claire Lopez. I think we're going to have her on for the whole show. We're doing a complete analysis of ISIS, Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, or ISIL, Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, or IS, the Islamic State. We're going to take a look at who these folks are, what they believe, what they want, where they're going, and more importantly, what you need to do, what we need to do to deal with it. That's Tuesday of next week, October 7th. But they don't just pop out of thin air.
Right.
The geopolitical developments were all of 2011 and the upheaval in many of these Islamic countries. Then remember what happened in December of 2011 and what we did in January of 2012 in Tallahassee in recognition of what happened stupidly the end of 2011, what we did in 2012 January. Do you remember?
What did we do in January?
January 2012, we had a saluting the military
Oh, that's
right.
right. That's right.
where
That's
we
right.
honored the troops coming home from
Right.
where?
From Iraq, and
Why were they coming home from Iraq?
because Obama was.
I ended the war.
Right.
I, Mr. Barack Obama, I told you I'd end
Everybody's
the war.
coming
I pulled
home.
everybody out.
How'd that work out?
Had to work out for you, yeah.
And now,
How'd that
now
how'd that status of forces agreement turn out? That
Yeah.
wasn't
Leon
signed.
Panetta is getting his ass kicked by the administration, but he's not a guy to mess with. And he's not our favorite guy by any means, but he's
Right.
holding strong on the fact that he told this administration, if you pull out, and the audacity of the State Department, Psaki, what's her name?
Psaki. She looks like she
Psaki.
graduated college a few years ago,
couple
and
years
she's
ago.
the State Department spokesman. It's unbelievable.
Megyn Kelly, I believe yesterday, was cross-examining her and said, your
know.
guy, Leon Panetta, just wrote in his book, you made a mistake. And
Can you
she-
respond to that? And she wouldn't.
You see, well, her response was very sarcastic. I think it's Psaki. I think the P is silent.
Yeah.
When you pee silently, that's a problem. When your P is silent. She said, 5 or 10,000 people was going to stop ISIS. Oh,
No.
10,000 soldiers certainly would have stemmed the tide of this mayhem that's busted out.
a statement like that
Right.
ought to be evidence that she has failed in her job as a spokesperson of the Humane Society, let alone the State Department. 10,000 fighting force Marines, combat soldiers. Don't go, oh, let's just wait for all of this to happen and come here. There's intelligence. There's ongoing SIGNET. There's signal intelligence. There's human intelligence. There's surveillance going on. You see this before it gets to the point where it's uncontrollable.
It's also a
yes,
big-
State Department, 10,000 people would have stopped what's going on in Iraq.
It's also a big deterrent.
It's a huge deterrent. I mean, you got
Right.
15, 18, 30-year-old, you got 30-year-old men telling the 18-year-old kids, here, learn how to shoot this gun. You're going to sacrifice your life for Allah. Let's go fight the Marines. That sounds great. A lot of bravado.
Right.
As soon as your first level of friends get chopped in half, they go, I don't know if I want to do this anymore, you know? Now they're winning. That's why they're recruiting so badly. Yes, State Department, if you would have listened to Panetta, kept a fighting force
Yes.
there, a status of forces, dealt with those issues about legal retribution against our folks in Iraq, we wouldn't be in this situation.
Well, I got a question for you, Tom. Is it just me, or is it when I look at the State Department, I feel like I'm looking at the Tri Delta sorority house? I mean, you look at it, it's just crazy. It's just packed full of these
Are you
dim-witted.
dissing our women in politics?
No, I wish more women get into politics, but I'm looking at that especially that one young one who's on there. She looks like she's fresh out of
the big glasses like
big
this.
glasses. She looks like she's fresh out of high school.
There's no Henry Kissinger in there, is there?
It doesn't. Yeah,
She
where
was
is
out
that?
of a meeting. I just had another meeting in the State Department.
Yeah, really? Ooh, Tri Delta, let's go support
Tri-Delta,
Tri-Delta.
Tri-Delta.
It really does look like that, and that weakness is reflected back to the world. I mean, you see these, college sorority women kind of projecting this weakness of the Obama policy. It doesn't get any worse to the Arab world than women being in a position of power who show weakness. I mean, it's just you talking about giving them the impetus to attack and strike. I mean, and you know how they treat women over in the Middle East.
Oh man. Well, what is interesting with your analysis of the juvenile JV team in the State Department, the juvenile JV team in the State Department, that's comprised of many young girls. I mean, they're just young girls, is what they are, right?
Yeah, they are.
What's interesting about that is that our framers, when they put this country together,
Right.
they had a bicameral legislature. They said we need a bunch of people over here that are kind of the rough and tumble citizen legislators, but we need some wise people too on this side that have
Right.
a little more experience, understand things a little better. They identified maturity, human maturity,
Yes.
and we all know, gentlemen in this room, we're a little beyond our 30s at this
Right.
point, and we know that once you get over that hill of 30 and you start looking at life, things are different than they were when you're on the other side of 30. And if you add a leftist ideology to an immature personality, you get what we're getting with this.
You
State
get Barack
Department.
Obama.
You get Barack Obama.
With sorority as his State Department.
Yep. And so what's the moral of that story? The moral is very simple. You need sophisticated, wise people in the State Department representing the state of the United States to the rest of the world. And these people representing the State Department, which is in a mess right now.
Oh, it's completely off
to
the
the
wall
citizens of this country. But you know what? It always goes back to 32 days from today, November 4th.
Right.
2014 election day here in Florida, elsewhere around the United States. If the good citizens do not get up and vote, you got these schmucks that are in there, and you got a schmuck president like we have now, who's an ideologue, as we know. He brings his friends in. And he
Oh, I
runs a
just found
scam.
out about that yesterday. Oh my God, I just found out about that yesterday. That's the type of leadership that you get.
Oh, speaking of the State Department, where has John Heinz Kerry been lately? Ever since his
is
complete
bizarre.
failure in the Middle East, he's
is
been a little
bizarre.
silent, hasn't he?
Where is he?
Where
he's
is
probably
he?
on vacation or
Yeah.
something.
Is he kiteboarding?
Well, he's not down in Mexico actively trying to get Tamarisi freed or anything like
Yeah,
that.
that's another mess too. All right, Tom Trento here, late in the 4 o'clock hour. If we added 10 minutes to what we've done, Where would we be on our clock? Anybody know? That's a puzzle. That's a
It would be
mind
30,
bender.
36 minutes
If we added 10?
if we added 10.
We actually keep track of that stuff. Good. 46. Okay, good.
Do you want me to flip the hourglass?
No,
The
not yet.
time is running out.
What we can do is first tell people who we are and what we're all about. Tom Trento here on WSBR, sunny Boca Raton, WSBR 740 on your AM dial. We want to welcome all the new listeners who are driving their automobiles all over South Florida, from Miami to West Palm Beach. That's about 60 miles or so. And, it's about 15 miles, I guess, east to west. You can go up to the Sand, and if Mark is correct, there's a road in the ocean by his house. So maybe you can drive on that.
Right.
But all of you folks driving in your automobiles, or if you are in your home listening to your AM radio, does anybody do that anymore?
iHeart. They listen on iHeart radio now, Tom.
I was
anybody-
moving last week, and I was listening to the AM radio.
You have a radio in your home, and you
I
put
have
it
a Bose Wave radio,
Oh,
and I was
he's
listening to the
fancy.
Dolphins.
on. Okay.
He's fancy. Oh,
Please
yeah.
call in right now, 1-800-222-422-422. Tell us if you ever listen to your AM radio at home anymore. There's a better way. Somebody tell the good folks about the better way to listen.
On iHeartRadio. You can go on iHeartRadio or go to the UnitedWest.org, and they actually have a click link to the iHeartRadio app.
We do have that now?
Yes, we do, and we also have. You didn't know that.
I didn't know
You know that. And we also have. Go download the iHeartRadio app and type in 740W Sunny Boca Raton.
SBR.
And there you go, and then we can have it.
I listened on SBRradio.com yesterday.
And you can
Yeah.
listen on the internet, sbrradio.com. SBR, Sierra Bravo,
Romeo.
740 W in front, whiskey. You can listen that way. You can watch on theunitedwest.org. And then we are editing segments of our show, the video portion, and putting them up on Breitbart the next day. We may be putting our whole show up on various websites in the near future. Are we up on Tea Party Community yet?
Yes, we are
We
on
are.
teapartycommunity.com.
Tea Party
and
Community.
TEApartycommunity.com.
So people can go to teapartycommunity.com
And watch us
and watch the show.
Watch the
live
show
at
there
4
too.
o'clock. Cool. That's very, very cool. And why would anybody watch this show?
For the edutainment value.
Edutainment. You know, we are activists. We're taking the principles that we so dearly hold to and believe in. The personal responsibility. Not, whenever there's a problem, turn to Washington or turn to Tallahassee or turn to your local government. But you go, all right, I got myself in this situation, and I've got to, with friends and family, figure out how to do the best I possibly can. Whether that's financial situations, which we all get into, particularly with this president. I think that something like 10 or 11 million homes have been lost during his reign, during the reign of the Obamas. And that's devastating for someone. And we're not saying that the government ought not help in certain ways at certain times, but your appeal to government assistance ought to be the last course of action. As activists, we're saying the synagogues and the churches are there, friends and family are there to help. And if you distill all this stuff down to an individual, if each individual would seek their particular areas of influence with others for assistance, we're all in this human game together. You go to get assistance in Washington, you get an impersonal, usually very disturbing or not a very good experience, and you get further depressed. But when you work together with someone else to pick yourself up by your own bootstraps, and those of you who have done this understand this, you start to develop a constitution, a human capability to do above and beyond what you ever thought you could do. This is the way we ought to be living our lives, not look for help every minute of every day. And sadly, we have two parties right now, the Democrat Party and the Republican Party. And the Democrat Party historically has sold themselves as practitioners of assistance, whether on a local, a state, or a federal level. If you're in the Democrat Party and you have a problem, whether it's with education, whether it's funding, whether it's medical, whatever it is, let the government handle it for you. Let the government come in. Now, let me ask you guys, over against the Republican philosophy, which says the government is there to be a safety net, not to be a fishing net to go catch fish.
All right.
Why ought not a person, and we're not talking about the extreme cases, but the normal cases. Guy loses his job. He, used to be 26 weeks of unemployment. He goes, screw that, man. I'm going to scam the system. I'm gonna
99.
99 weeks. Yeah, easy there, Abdullah. 99 weeks. I'm gonna do that. Why are you doing that? Well, the government's giving it to me, and I'm going to do it. So you're not going to look for a job? Hell no, I'm not going to look for a job.
Nope.
Not for 99 weeks. How many years is 90? That's almost 2 years. Two
is.
years. Let's say you live
It
80
is.
years, right? That's a 40th of your life.
Right.
Well, you got to rule out the first 15 or so it's even more than that
It's even
because you're
more
not
than that
working
when
as a
you- when you
9-year-old.
factor it.
Right.
But what mindset says, what are you people crazy? I could party for those 99. I don't have to work. I don't have to do nothing. What kind of mindset says that? Let's dive into the human nature a little.
Well, before we even get into that, what's amazing to me is the people where that money comes from is from taxes that other people are paying. And what percentage of jobs today that you go and apply for do you have to take a drug test? When the state of Florida,
Almost all of them, I
when
mean.
the state
Right.
of Florida tried to implement the law requiring recipients of welfare,
welfare, right.
Okay, requiring recipients to take a drug test to receive money from those people paying taxes that have to pass a drug test to pay the taxes, and that
That's
was
a
too
perfect-
much to ask for.
That's a perfect example of Republican philosophy versus Democrat philosophy. I can't think of any Republican. Now, what were the arguments for someone wanting to receive tax money? People that worked real hard, paid their taxes, now it goes to somebody that not only doesn't want to work, maybe legitimately lost his job, doesn't really want to look for work, and wants to do drugs while he's not working.
With your money.
What argument, is there a conservative argument that, free speech, or is there any argument? I'm not
Well, you
familiar.
could have a libertarian argument that says it's none of your business what I do. On the whole, but that person would also be against drug testing for the employed
Yeah, but
person
is
paying the taxes.
Is the
That's the
libertarian going to say, leave him alone, it's his life, with somebody else's money? The
Absolutely
libertarian-
not.
Of course not.
No.
So no libertarian that I know
Exactly.
of, no Republican, would vote against somebody on welfare having to be drug tested so they don't
Right.
become a drug addict with taxpayer money. Except the Democrat side, sadly. Many Democrats were for that. Now, where does it
Okay.
stand in Florida? I'm not sure where that one stands.
The
They
drug
struck
te-
that down. You can't. They said that you can't drug test the
You can't
recipients.
drug test to get a welfare.
I believe it was Scott that tried to get it put in.
Unbelievable.
Well,
His
especially
common sense is
after
upside
the pro marijuana, it's going to go. I mean, there's
down. Pro
excellent-
marijuana. What's that all about?
No, it's just going to pass in the state of Florida. I know it is, and once you pass, now it's a legal substance, and how can you judge people who have tested
They'll
positive?
fail. They'll fail. the drug.
fail.
All
They'll
right,
fail the
what's
drug
that?
test.
What that's all about, ladies and gentlemen. Here, as we're winding up the 4:00 hour on October 3rd. Is it Friday?
Yes,
It's Friday.
It is Friday.
It's Jumpin' Juma Freak. Hey, it's Yom Kippur Friday. It's Jumpin' Juma Friday. We got all kinds of things going on, and I lost my thought. What were we just talking about?
it's jumping Jimmy Freaky Friday. That's what happens.
What we have in 32 days in Florida, we have one of these medical marijuana initiatives on the ballot, the constitutional
There's nothing.
issue.
It's not medical.
To vote in medical marijuana as legal use and medically distributed, like in California. I was in California walking down Venice Beach.
We both were. Yeah.
Yeah, where the
Sounds romantic.
oh, yes, it was sunny,
It was.
yes.
We were accepted out there.
Where you walk down right in the ocean where they have all the crazy, freaky
Yeah, Venice Beach.
stores and all
Venice
that.
Beach.
And every other little exhibit booth was a medical marijuana clinic.
$20.
And yeah, it said $20, come and get your medical marijuana. And there's a legitimate
Examination.
doctor in there. They examine you and you say, I have anxiety. Okay, here's your prescription.
I have
You
my
get
back
your card.
hurts. My back hurts.
I got a back pain. You get your
there
card
you go,
and you
boom.
buy your dope.
Right.
And that's what California does now. And that's what Florida, the state of Florida, conservative state of Florida, is going to be voting on in 32 days. Problem is because, not the problem, good news is, because it's a constitutional amendment. How the heck are we amending the Constitution to put in marijuana? This is what the founders had in mind, you know?
Well, wasn't the Constitution written on hemp?
Yeah.
Probably, but you need 60% of the people for it
Right.
to pass. So it's not a 50-50 thing. You need 60%.
I think it's
of the
definitely gonna
voters that
pass.
come
And
out.
some of them aren't even going to be able to find the polling
You're gonna be,
station.
"Oh,
They're just going to be
man,
driving
you know."
around.
Dude, where am I signing? What am I doing? So we have that whole thing coming up. But the point is, as activists, we had Kellyanne Conway on earlier analyzing amazing data. And you can go to centerforsecuritypolicy.org, centerforsecuritypolicy.org, Frank Gaffney's amazing national security shop. Go there, homepage, second big red arrow down on the homepage. It says new survey data on national security. Click on that. You'll get a picture of Kellyanne Conway, who was just our guest. She runs thepollingcompany.org, thepollingcompany.org. And she's done it for many years. And don't ever question her on her
wow.
capabilities,
Boy, did I get
Mark,
shut down,
to
huh?
run a polling company, because she will put you in your place. That's sensitive stuff for people in the polling.
Well, I was trying to actually give people a
heart is
understand.
in the right place.
No, I was trying to give a comparison. How does she compare with these other people? That's what I was trying
I don't
to
think
make.
you want to ask that question.
I don't either again. Jeez, oh man. Did I get just
If you
hammered?
missed that,
Did
go
I get
back.
hammered, man?
Mark
I was like, simple question.
just asks a simple question. He goes, what do you ask me a stupid question for? You know?
Mark's tongue is tired from licking his wounds.
Jeez, oh man. Don't put your hand near that
Those
bowl.
Poland folks are sensitive about their methodology. So we're saying as activists, the material that Kellyanne Conway put together is critically important for a teaching moment. For those of you who are in Act for America groups or local community groups.
Patriot groups.
Patriot groups dealing with conservative issues, fighting the left. We have to be careful. I had friends of mine say, Tom, don't use the word liberal. We are liberal. We're not leftists. No, they're talking about some of their social stuff,
Right.
where I still disagree with them.
Well,
but
like
they make
my-
a good point.
My wife is.
Yeah, they make a good point. She's a liberal, but not a leftist. A
Right.
leftist, well, how would you define a leftist for our good folks out there?
Well,
Versus
Well,
a liberal. What's the distinction
well, I tell you
between a
what.
liberal and a leftist?
Let me flip it over, and actually, this helps people understand who liberals are. They have this vision of a Star Trek world. Okay, they really do. They have it where everybody,
Commander.
where there's free energy, there's free food, it's all provided
Your
by
wife
an
is listening, so be careful.
organization, and they think everybody, all we need is the right Captain Picard or the right Captain Kirk to lead us. And it's, if you look at it, it's a utopian society that is just completely you're wound
Obama
to
does
tomb.
have those Spock ears.
You don't have to get a job. All you have to do is go do whatever work you want are assigned to do or you're chosen to do. If you're a mechanic, you go become an engineer. It's a complete total communism thought mindset. It really is. And in their ideal and in their heads, they think that this utopian Star Trek world can actually exist.
Kumbaya, my lord.
Yeah, and one of the reasons they think that is because what are you thinking about? You're thinking about human beings.
Right.
So you have to say, what is a human being versus a hippopotamus?
Right.
If we were constructing a society for hippopotami,
Right.
for hippopotami, you'd say, you know what? If we put them all in a movie theater, and show them a movie, how is that going to work? Well, they don't like to be confined in those spaces. If we give them a driver's license, is that going to work okay for? You have to look at the essential nature of the entity you're trying to construct a group for. When you come over to human beings, one of the issues that philosophers have struggled with is, are human beings innately good or innately evil? And my experience has been that human beings are innately evil. If you don't believe that, have a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old around you for 5 minutes, and they'll kick you in the leg and tell you no more times than they smile and wave at you, okay? Well, if you build your political philosophy improperly on a miscalculation, a misunderstanding of human nature, and say everybody's good, then you come up with these utopias because the only problem are external factors. Internally, everybody's on the same team. We can coexist. If we all have equity externally, voila!
Voila, it's a free love
It's
test.
global warming's fault.
It's global warming's fault, exactly. Now, the leftist in there exploits the liberal mindset, which is a soft thinking mindset, and says, these dummies believe that crap?
Right.
I could lead them down the Marxist trail
To
and
communism.
make them do what we want to do, and we'll be the ruling class of the Marxist socialist society.
Saul Alinsky, Rules for Radicals.
Democrat Party today, folks. That's
Hillary
what you got.
Clinton, disciple.
Exactly what you got. Oh, boy. Oh, well.
Well, I did figure out something interesting the other day.
What's that?
Was
By the way,
why
that is Mark, folks.
Mark,
Mark's
yes.
over there.
I'm over here.
Damon is over here.
Howdy.
Tom is over here. We're back on the air. Are you the same guys from WNN 1470 like a year ago?
Yes, yes.
Yes, that's us. Well, why are you on WSBR?
Call letters are cooler.
Yeah. 740 is better than 1470.
Yeah, kick their
It's
butts,
easier
man.
to say. We're over here because we want to be over here, but we are here. And you've asked about CJ, and we, on our show yesterday, go to our website. We're going to archive all our, they're going to be archived in the United West probably. Go someplace. Send info at the United West. For any questions, we'll answer it.
Advertising.
Yep, CJ will be on some of our shows in the future. She's doing other things right now.
Right.
And you've asked about Imam Abdullah, that poor chap. Is he still around?
I am here today, fresh from Juma prayers, my infidel friend.
What do you guys do on Juma prayer and Yom Kippur when it happens on the same day?
Oh, we pray about killing Jews,
Oh, God, that sounds nice. But
destroying Israel,
but they are praying,
Right.
our Jewish brothers and sisters,
for atonement.
for atonement and forgiveness from God.
Yes, they should.
They get all hyped up, and then
They should
get,
apologize every day for what they do to the poor Palestinians.
Okay, well, we'll deal with you in future shows, Abdullah. But he
Right.
is here.
Right.
And yes, the way we are financed is by your generous donations. Or if you'd like to, you could buy advertising time. Info at theunitedwest.org. We'll run the advertising on the show and on our other internet stuff, and it's just been wonderful. How much time we have with a clock that's not working?
our clock that's not working.
Yeah, I have a clock that's not working. There.
You have 9 minutes in reverse. Don't worry about it, audience.
We have the amazing ability to shoot the front part of the show after we shoot the back part of the show. Go try to do that on WNN 1470. It can never happen. All right, I guess it's time to say goodbye and head out of here. Monday night, October 6th, our crew will be at the Abacoa Golf Club in Jupiter, Florida. Abacoa Golf Club. If the president can golf as much as he can,
That's
so
right.
can we. We're going there.
There you go.
Are
So
we
we're done.
golfing?
Are we golfing? We're golfing.
Not the golf. I hate golf. Stupidest game on the face of the earth. Oh, no, I lost all of our golf donors. Yeah, all 3 of them maybe.
Did you hear that sucking sound?
No, we do hate golf. But no, Mark, you like
I don't hate
No, you
golf.
like it.
Speak for yourself,
Stupid.
Kemosabe. There.
You carry a stick, you hit a dopey ball,
Yeah,
and you're
yeah.
4 hours out
It's
in the
fun. Well, you're
It's either
missing the
raining
whole,
or it's too hot.
You're missing the whole drinking beer, smoking cigar thing.
Oh, that part. We are going to Abacoa Golf Course in Jupiter, Florida, Monday night, open to the public. A phenomenal speaker. We're all going to go listen to Tom Trento.
Tom Trento, that's
He
it.
is speaking there. coming outside myself.
That's right.
He is speaking there, doing an analysis on the Gaza war, the implications in Israel and in the United States.
Yeah, that
to the
long forgotten
Operation
war.
Protective Edge.
They're all peaceful over there. Nothing.
All peaceful.
Everything's hunky dory.
So we'll be there Monday. Our guest Monday, we're working on that. Tuesday, Claire Lopez. Wednesday, we're working on a former ambassador from Israel, possibly.
Right.
Working on that. We're going to bring you great stuff. Want you to get active. 32 days left. Get involved in some sort of effort to help good people get elected. Go to centerforsecuritypolicy.org. Look at Kellyanne Conway's phenomenal polling data about national security being elevated to a primary position. Both sides of the aisle, Democrats and Republicans and independents. For those of you working in the sector, learn that material, communicate, educate. Wonderful teaching moment. For our Jewish brothers and sisters, have an absolutely productive and spiritually gratifying Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement. We're signing off now.